Hello again, welcome back everyone. Liquorhound here with you. Thank you for joining me for another spirit review video. Today we'll be taking a look at a couple of new releases coming to us from the Joseph Magnus Distillery there in Washington, D.C. Now, if you've been following my channel or a subscriber or have been watching my videos for some time, you may have seen the video review I did of the namesake bourbon, the Joseph Magnus Bourbon. Now, that one was finished in Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez sherry casks as well as cognac casks, and I really enjoyed that bourbon. So I was had high hopes for these two when I picked them up at the back end of 2016. So what we have here is the Murray Hill Club Blended Bourbon, bottled at 103 proof, retails about $100. Over here we have the Cigar Blend Bourbon. Now this one is bottled at 100.7 proof, retailed about $150. The only thing about this one that you need to know is that it was kind of a limited release, only 504 bottles initially. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they actually do it again, so I wanted to review it for you here. Now, the Murray Hill Club is a batch blended bourbon, so you will see it continuously released. This happens to be batch 2. I know I've seen batch 4 and 5, so I don't know what they're up to, but it might be 6 or 7 by now. But at $100, I really think it's a really nice bottle to pick up. Now, details. Further history, let's say. The Murray Hill Club itself, the name, can trace its heritage all the way back to the Joseph Magnus Distillery pre-Prohibition times. Of course, Prohibition killed that distillery. But back then, you know, not only did they do the Joseph Magnus Bourbon, but the Murray Hill Club was one of their flagship brands. It was known for being and advertised as being very smooth and elegant whiskey. It was preferred by 9 out of 10 gentlemen, stuff like that. So when they set out to produce this, and the two people are really responsible for this are Nancy Fraley, Nancy the Nose Fraley, and Matt Witzig. Now, Matt Witzig is their master distiller. Now, both of those two, they collaborate for this kind of stuff, and they've done a really great job, not only with the Joseph Magnus, but these two as well. Now, when they thought about this one, they're like, okay, a blended bourbon is what it was. Let's go ahead and make it a blended bourbon again because it's supposed to be smooth and, you know, that type of whiskey. So they knew if you blend a young bourbon with an old bourbon and you try to make it smooth that way, a lot of times you'll get the viscosity and the depths of flavor from the old bourbon, but the young bourbon will drive the spice level up and make it feel hotter than it should be. So that's not really a way to make a really good smooth whiskey. That's how come the Canadian whiskeys like to use light whiskeys or, you know, that type of style of grain whiskeys to create a lighter profile. So that's kind of what they were shooting for here. So they went and sourced a 9-year-old light whiskey. Now, what is a light whiskey? Well, a light whiskey is simply basically a bourbon mash bill that is purposely distilled in column stills to be about 160 to below 190 proof. So it's very, very high ABV coming off the still. Once it comes off the still, it's a very lighter profile whiskey, a high ABV though. So they'll proof it down, put it in reused cooperage, ex-bourbon barrels, and let it mature. Now, sometimes it's not allowed to mature very long, and that's why light whiskeys get a bad rap, because typically it'll go into cheaper bourbon blends, and at young, you know, lengths of maturation, it's just not very good. But when it's allowed to mature properly, like High West and Joseph Magnus shows here, because High West did the light whiskey 14-year-old last year that was really, really good, it can be phenomenal on its own. So they took that 9-year-old light whiskey, blended it with an 11-year-old and 18-year-old sourced bourbons coming from MGP. They were both low rye mash bills, 21% rye, 75% corn, 4% barley. And they blend those three components together into a stainless steel tank. Now, this is where Nancy Fraley used some of her cognac blending background to the advantage of the whiskey. So a marrying process where you put it in a tank and you let it relax for about 3 to 6 months is a very cognac technique. It's a very good style for producing great cognac. So they let it marry, and at that same time, she'll slowly proof it down with the addition of water very, very slowly, or temper that whiskey. And the easing in of that water to that whiskey allows it to slowly come down and proof to 103 bottling proof without ever really shocking the whiskey or disturbing it. And so it's going to maintain its smooth profile even into the bottle, okay? All right, so that's what we need to know about that one. Now over here, this one actually received a very special finishing technique. But here we have all bourbon components. An 11 and 18-year-old bourbon are used again. The same 18 probably, because it is a low ride 18-year-old, 21% rye. But the 11-year-old is a high rye, 36% rye bourbon mash bill. You blend those two components with some Joseph Magnus bourbon that's already blended, ready to go. About 25% of that goes into this blend. You take those three bourbons, put them in an Armagnac cask for about 5-6 months. Now, during that 6 months of finishing, they'll go in, and Nancy will go in and nose, and Matt will go in and nose and taste it, go along the way to see how it's progressing. If it needs more fruit characters, I imagine they'll add more Joseph Magnus. If it needs more viscosity or depth of flavor, maybe they add a little more 18-year-old, and so on, to create this final bottling. Now, they do not add any water to it, because by the time they're done blending all those bourbons together in that cask, it's at 107 proof. So it's bottled without the addition of any more water. All right? All right. The other thing to note about it, it's called the Cigar Blend. Why is that? Well, because Nancy realized and Matt realized that, you know, a lot of people like to pair cigars and pipes with whiskeys, and nobody in the industry is actually producing a whiskey specifically for that purpose. Now, in the Scotch world, you have the Dalmore cigar malt, but other than that, that's about it, right? So they set out to do it, and that's how come this came to be. Now, I know, well, personally, I don't smoke cigars or smoke a pipe, but this is great on its own, all right? But let's go ahead and get to the actual nosing and tasting of each. Starting back over here, Murray Hill Club, no finishing, 11 and 18-year-old bourbon with a 9-year-old light whiskey. Caramel and vanilla, little brown sugar, cinnamon and clove. Red, it's cherries and raspberries, but it's almost coming off like a red rope licorice with the vanilla in there as well. Okay, here we go on the back. Orange oils, dark chocolate, old leather, a nuttiness, like a roasted nut element as well. And that's about what I get on the nose. Let's go ahead and go to the taste. Murray Hill Club. Great viscosity, above medium. Wow, okay. I can see where they were going for that smooth, you know, you're going for that smooth style, right? And it kind of enters that way. It's a little nutmeg. But as it enters, you're thinking, wow, this is going to be a really creamy, easy drinking, blended bourbon. And then all of a sudden the mid-palate shows up, and it's like, it just starts swelling on the mid-palate. Flavor, not spice. So you get those red fruits coming up front, that brown sugar caramel thing happening, and then on the mid-palate you start getting the cinnamon and clove, roasted nuts, dark chocolate, orange oils kind of all layering together, and then you start just rolling in old leather, dried, a little bit of dried tobacco leaf as well on the back end. It's almost coming off like the roasted nuts and the dark chocolate, almost like a fudge or a toffee type element going on as well. But the old leather, that old bourbon, 18-year-old bourbon character is very well represented in this bottling. And it really shows itself on the mid-palate finish. A very, very long finish. It's still going. All those flavors are still there. It's a really, really nice bourbon. I wouldn't hesitate to pick that one up if I saw another bottle. I'm hoping they'll get to a little wider distribution here shortly. Okay. Cleanse the palate and the nose. Okay. Now, the Cigar Blend Bourbon. Oh, wow. This one has a nose of brown sugar, molasses, or sorghum. Cinnamon and clove. I actually think the nutmeg is actually more than the clove on this one. A little bit of that star anise or anise in this one as well. Orange oils for sure. Red fruits as well. Dried fruits coming in. Prune and fig. Not raisin, it's prune and fig. Dark chocolate, old leather, dried tobacco leaves on the back. Very, very dusty, very mature whiskey aromatics here. Wow, that is greatness. All right, let's go ahead and taste it. You can sit there and nose this thing all day. Wow. Medium high viscosity. One of the best viscosities I've seen at this ABV in any bottling. And it just grows. So this one is very, very, it has a lot of deep flavor, okay, but it's very elegant in how it presents the flavor. When you initially take it in, it's got you that brown sugar that you're typically going to find, but the molasses and sorghum is just adding a little more depth to the sweetness, darkness to the sweetness. And then on the mid palate, you start getting the orange oils along with that cinnamon and nutmeg and a little clove. And then you start getting the orange oils just layering on top. Then the old leather, the dried tobacco leaves, the dark chocolate, the roasted nuts are coming through very, very big on the back end. The dried fruit character, the fig and the prune, dried apricot coming in as well to complement those red fruits that were initial up front. The great thing about it is it's very complex, a lot of different flavors, a lot of different aromatics, but it's not out of balance. Everything just complements one another. The old leather, that dried tobacco leaf that's on the back end, you never lose anything that happened up front. Everything just starts layering on each other, and it just compounds through the mid palate, and then the finish just goes on and on and on this guy. I could see how with the dried tobacco leaves and the old leather, this is going to work really well with cigar or pipe tobacco, but you don't have to have it. I mean, this thing works wonders on its own. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of bourbons out there nowadays that are $300 and up that probably don't compare to this. That's an honest opinion there. But, wow, they've done a great job. So, again, if you happen to see this one out there, I recommend immediately picking it up. If you don't have access to it or you don't see it around right now, because there were only 504 of them, probably get on their social media channels or, check with them, because I'm hoping they do another release of it. Wow, yeah. It's there. It's definitely there on that one. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching and leaving those great comments. To everyone there at Joseph Magnus, man, keep up the great work. Matt, Nancy, Brett, all you guys, great job. Thank you for watching this video. Everybody have a great evening, and cheers.